Entrepreneurship, Chapter 3, Facilitating Social Entrepreneurship. The two dimensions of social entrepreneurship: identify societal problems, create solutions, social ventures, and practice an entrepreneurship method. So when we look at the two dimensions, we think in terms of identifying societal problems and creating solutions. So when we think in terms of trying to go and do this social entrepreneurship, the first thing you have to do is identify what does society need, what problems are prevalent, and then trying to come up with the appropriate solutions for them. Social ventures are the things that we actually, the methods in which we choose to do it. Practicing the entrepreneurship method is what we looked at from a previous chapter. You're still looking at operating like an entrepreneur, but you're also thinking in terms of how do you identify some problems with society and create some solutions for them. So there's a difference. One is when you look at entrepreneurship in the general sense, it's just strictly looking at somebody starting an endeavor for money. This one is looking at starting an endeavor to try to deal with societal problem. Social innovation is value accrues primarily to society, gaining popularity, 5 elements of social innovation. So when we look at the social innovation, we think in terms of the value accrues primarily to society. So the value is something that is subjective. Is it something that people believe it actually helps them? And it may not necessarily be what you believe, it's what they believe. Based upon that and what society as a whole believe, you will find that this is something that is growing in popularity because you're seeing more and more, and it's global. You're seeing more instances where this is going around the globe, where people are actually, entrepreneurs are taking on endeavors to try to deal with some of the issues associated with society. The two dimensions of social entrepreneurship: social value creation. When we look at the social value creation, it's generated when the solution is used. So it's not necessarily from someone's effort. It is when you actually have done something, when a solution is used. You come up with something that therefore is actually doing something. Good intentions don't do. Actually, this just is generated when something, a solution is actually used. People place values on the changes. They can determine whether or not the value is something that they think is worthwhile or not. One of the ways you find out is to talk to people to find out. Let them tell you what it is that they think about the endeavor that you're pursuing. Is it something that makes sense to them? If you have great intentions, you believe it has value, and the population as a whole does not, guess what? It doesn't have value. Example of proliferation of microfinancing. This is when you have individuals or groups who will provide money for folks in communities who traditionally can't get financing through traditional sense for various reasons. So they come up with ways to help them to generate money or to come up with finances to start their entrepreneur endeavors or their businesses in the community. And remember, when people actually have businesses in their community, they're vested, the communities do much better. The problem that you have with these little small business owners in some of these rural countries and third world countries and rural places is they don't have access to it. Microfinancing is something that's come up with in mind to help them. This is not something that's profit driven, it's something that's need based to help certain business leaders or entrepreneurs in communities. Whether this is someone in Bangladesh who wants to go buy some goats to become a goat herder, and provide meat to his community, or someone who lives in Egypt and he's come up with some type of baskets that he's selling that's actually helping him make a living and putting money back into the economy. Social entrepreneurs solve wicked problems. And first of all, let's understand what wicked problems are. Wicked problems are significant stuff. And these things pose significant changes. The examples of wicked problems are, you look at things like climate change, hurricanes, terrorism, national disaster, natural disasters, things that affect us as a whole, not just a few people, but as a whole, and they have a significant impact not on our communities, but sometimes our countries and also our lifestyles. So, trying to come up with ways to help people to deal with these wicked problems is a very good thing, but it's very difficult. I'll give you an example. How do you solve terrorism? See, how do you solve climate change issues, problems that are occurring from climate change? How do you deal with solve problems that are actually where someone lives in a hurricane zone and they get 2 to 3 every year? So there are significant challenges right there when you're talking about dealing with wicked type of problems. Think in terms of wicked problems as big scale type stuff. Social entrepreneurs solve wicked problems. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So that was 17 goals serve as a blueprint. Address major universal issues, generates money and jobs. All entrepreneur is social. So what the UN did is came to set up these 17 goals, and it was really designed for like private industry or anybody else, nonprofits that wanted to do stuff to solve social problems, wicked problems. And by establishing these goals, they are set down to address major universal issues, not just in a specific country, not just a unique type of situation, but for something that's universal that can help in many different instances. And now with these goals they set down, these things are designed to some of them can generate money and jobs. Well, if you want to solve some of these wicked problems, you need to almost set up some type of ways to do it, infrastructure to do it. How are you working with people, partnering with people to get these things done? Well, even though it may be a business that that's in business to make money, it can still engage in this, the unsustainable development goals, because this is really where an organization has opportunity to be a good partner. And if you look at it, entrepreneurship is social. Just about all types of entrepreneur, not all, but many types of entrepreneurship is social, because a lot of them will be affecting some type of social issue or some type of social wickedness in some capacity. Even though some of them are fully profit driven, they still could have a footprint in the social realm. Types of social entrepreneurship: for-profit social ventures. So these are social objectives, financial sustainability, key characteristics. You have a couple examples. So for instance, if you look at social ventures, the social ventures of financial sustainability. So what they do is they provide some type of venture that they're providing, some type of service, but they're doing something which actually provides their own means of financial sustainability. For instance, I'm going to provide clothes for the homeless, but in order to do that, I am selling a product to help bring in money so that I can actually do that. So you see the key characteristics is you're going to see some type of revenue producing aspect of it. And when you think in terms of like Lime and e-bikes, these are companies that went into business and they had a purpose to provide a service to help work with means of transportations, to have a better, greener footprint. But yet, and by doing that, you're looking at what type of effect are we having on the environment by doing that. You're looking at lowering emissions. So you're providing a service to help people get around, but you're also lowering emissions in the economy, which is also trying to bring down global warming, being a good partner. For-profit social ventures, shared value, benefit corporations. So these a lot of times will be business that actually, they do this, but their goal is to make money. Why? They provide a service. So some people would do things to generate revenue so that they can do a service. Others go in with the purpose, well, I want to make money, and by doing it, I'm going to provide a service to a group of people or a segment of society or the world that actually needs it, and that's how I'll make my money. So even with the B Corps and stuff, same thing. They're in business to make money, but they also would take on some aspect to do a social, some type of social endeavor to help in some capacity. And that may be a whole different branch of the business that takes care of that. Again, this is kind of like going back to when he says almost all entrepreneurship and all businesses are social. This is what we're referring to. Enterprise and nonprofits. Nonprofits that act like for-profits, earn income activities, leverage innovative and entrepreneurial endeavors. So when you look at enterprise and nonprofits, these are nonprofits that act like they look like businesses in standpoint. They act like businesses for profits, earn income. So they're looking to gain a profit, not looking just to generate revenue to sustain themselves. They're looking to actually have earned income. And they leverage innovation and entrepreneur approaches and stuff because they are still a nonprofit. So they still have to have a purpose that they're actually trying to work with a social ill in some capacity. Market-based approaches. So what you find with these enterprise nonprofits is they will function like for profit when they look at market-based approaches. They're doing their research to determine what type of product do they want to offer and who do they want to offer it to. This challenges in the traditional nonprofit model. Not all nonprofits are enterprising. No, most of them are not. But this is a different branch. This is a different way of doing a nonprofit. And there's more than one way to actually be a good partner and help and make contributions to society or the world as a whole. Enterprise and nonprofits is just doing it in a different way. 4 models of revenue generation. So when you look at the customer model, this is where you may provide a service or whatever else, but you may charge someone a fee. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to provide a service for a group of people, but I'm going to charge them a nominal fee for me to provide it to them. So that would be your customer model. Your employee model is when you hire individuals, you bring them in, you may look to do some training or whatever else, help them acquire skills and things along those lines so that they can actually work for you in one of your organizations or work for someone else. And the product model is when you look at the type of product you're looking to sell. You're selling a product to generate revenue, but you've done your research so you understand that this is a specific model, a product that's being designed to sold to certain types of people, groups of people. You might have a target audience that you're providing this product to. It could be something from as simple as providing hair care products to a specific group of people who may be struggling, let's say people who are going through chemotherapy and they're losing their hair. You've come up with some type of product that actually helps them lose less hair. That's a product that you come up with specifically for a group of people. And it's generating revenue, but look what you're doing. You're helping a group of people who are actually going through a serious medical condition. And the combined model is basically when you look at it and says, this is one where we're combining one of the top 3 together to see exactly, to generate revenue. It could be combining the customer employee model, employee product model, but you were doing a combination of the two. Hybrid social venture, strategy to deliver social value, gray zone between business and charity. So this is really a hybrid, just what it says. It looks like a business for profit, and it also looks like a nonprofit. The strategy, though, is to deliver a social value. And this is a gray zone between business and charity, because if someone wasn't really looking at it in its entirety, you would almost think it was a business, but it's not. A for-profit business solely, and it's not. So this one can be a little confusing for some people. If you actually saw it and saw it working, you might not recognize what it is right off the bat because it's a combination of the two. It is a hybrid. Social venture for profit, social ventures. Investment expectation on social return. This is where you have individuals where they are receiving investment money from investors to provide a social value service or product. Now, understand this. Notice the word investment. So this money that they're getting from these investors is not solely just to provide this service or product to people. It's also for these investors to make a return, get a rate of return on their investment. They're looking to make money, the investors. You as an individual that's running an organization may not be profit oriented, but your investors are. And your investors have agreed to help you do what it is you want to do, but they want a return on their investment. Social entrepreneurs funded Macom Capital. So you have A prime example, investment right here with this organization, where Social Entrepreneurs Fund, a capital group, where it's an investment group that's funding them, but by the same token, they're actually looking to make money. And the impact engine is, so when you're looking at the impact of what this has on society, people, of something of value, whatever else, this engine, you look at what is the impact. Venture philanthropy. So when you look at venture philanthropy, investors are supporting social ventures. Investors highly involved. Main goal is social impact. Again, it's social impact right here. But here's the difference with this one. The venture philanthropy is this. These people will actually be involved. Your investors involved, stakeholders are involved in the business. They're helping you make decisions. Sometimes they may make decisions before you. They're heavily involved. They're not just like investors giving you money. No, they're involved and they're giving input into as to what's going on. Scaling the company to drive social change. Focus on social good, funding social causes needed to help nonprofits scale. So with the venture philanthropy, this is where these people are actually business people. So they're usually already running organizations or leading organizations or have their own business endeavors. So they're going to help you scale a company to drive social change. So they're going to help you be efficient so you can actually go and conduct the service or provide the social change that you endeavor to do. And now the focus is on social good. They're not so much in it for profit. They're in it to actually say, we're actually looking to make a change or have an effect. Funding social causes. These people will come up with the money to help you fund these actual causes that you're looking at doing. Most of these people, I'll be honest, most of these people are probably very wealthy, very influential, and like I said, coming from these were people. If you think about it, these would be the people who would be like your CEOs and presidents of companies or owners of businesses that might be inclined to do this. Social entrepreneurs and their stakeholders, people affected by the venture. 2 key questions. What is at stake? How is the value created? So when we look at this, stakeholders, this is people that are involved in the business. This would be customers, this would be employees, this would be board of directors, this would be investors. You look at all these types of folks, they're stakeholders, people affected by the venture. And so you have to ask 2 key questions. What is at stake here? When you look at what is at stake here, then you know what type of stakeholders you will have in your organization. And how is the value created? How are you going to go about creating this value? The stakeholders are going to be heavily involved and they're going to help you. But you also have to ask yourself, what is at stake? Because one of the things that it'll help you with, and we'll talk about it later, is knowing what's at stake. You also know who to deal with as far as trying to get things done. How is the value created? That's extremely important. Stakeholders are going to have input on it and they're going to help you come up with a way to create that value. Types of stakeholders. Consider power, legitimate, and urgency. Dormant stakeholders, discretionary stakeholders, demanding. Dormant stakeholders are people who normally, that's just what dormant. They normally don't speak up until they have to. But when they do, they actually have weight, they carry it. Discretionary stakeholders are people who may not have much weight or power, but these are some of the people that you can go to when you have legitimate questions about things. Demanding stakeholders are people who are actually the least influential. These are people who are most likely be on the outside looking in, trying to give input or whatever else, but they don't sway anything. Dominant stakeholders have legitimate power, and these people can actually, they can help or hurt. And you have dependent stakeholders. The dependent stakeholders, these are people who you look at and they're the ones that actually help get things up and running, and you can rely on these folks when you need them. Dangerous stakeholders are people who can do things to you, and to you or to your endeavor. Or to you. These are the people that can actually shut you down if you're not careful. Definitive stakeholders, when you knowing who they all are. because there's various groups you're going to have. Being able to get them defined is very important. Social impact measurement, direct activity of an organization. So we'll go here. So the theory of change, social impact measurement, developing a theory of change, plan, explaining expected outcomes, figure out how the program will work, educate, motivate, inspire. So when you look at this, it's developing a theory of change. You got to basically tell me, what is it you're planning to do? What type of outcome do you expect? And I'm going to be honest with you. You got to give more than that. You got to tell them, not what my plan is, what I think the outcome, but what course of action am I going to take to get this outcome? And it's got to be something that makes sense. It's got to be believable. And it can't just be something that makes sense to you. It's got to make sense to stakeholders. It's got to make sense to investors. All these things to get something up and running. It can be your vision and it can be your baby, but it has to be realistic and it's something that others will actually sign off on. Figure out how the program will work. Well, how are you going to go about doing this? What resources do you need? Who do you need involved in it? What stakeholders do you need? What do you need from them? All types of things to take into consideration. How this program will work. You have to lay it out. It's like a business plan. You have to lay it out for folks. And they'll need not only hear it, but they'll need to see it. And one of the things you get people involved in is you got to educate, motivate, inspire. You will have to do all of this. Remember, if this is something that your brainchild you're coming up with, others don't know it. They don't think like you. They're not inside your head. So they don't understand what you're thinking. First thing you got to do is you got to educate and sell them on something. Then, once you do that and they're kind of on a hook, now you got to motivate and inspire them to want to do it. Motivate them to participate, inspire them to stay the course. And this is why a lot of businesses fail. Not that entrepreneurs don't have a good idea. They're not able to do these things. In some cases, you'll find an entrepreneur who can't do these things. They'll hire somebody who can do these things for them and let that person be the spokesperson or the face of their organization or their endeavor. So when we talk about measuring the impact, we're looking at the Rockefeller Foundation's toolkit. You know, this is where you start with asking specific questions. Developing a theory of change. You ask specific questions. The more questions you ask, the more answers you get, the better you will understand something. Identify the problem. What is the problem? If you can identify the problem, then you can turn around and say, well, now let me come up with a solution for that problem. But it has to be specific. It can't be something roundabout. So you're asking specific questions to try to ascertain get all the information you need to make a decision. Now identify the problem. What is the problem? Once we identify that problem, now we can come up with a solution for that problem. Calculating social return on investment. Measures benefits outweighs the cost. Estimating social value divided by cost. Cost-benefit ratio greater than 1. So now this is tricky. If you're trying to calculate a rate of social return on rate, first of all, a lot of times it may not be something that you can measure in dollars. You have to find a way to convert that so that you can get it to the point where you can get a social return on investment. To see, okay, let's say a social return. Is this thing worthwhile? Is it actually working? That's what you're trying to measure to convert. So you estimate the social value divided by the cost. And so pretty much you've always heard almost everything we do, we can come up with a mathematical equation for it. And that's what we're talking about here, coming up with a mathematical equation to determine, are we getting a rate of return on this social endeavor, a social return on investment? And the cost-benefit ratio greater than 1. So realistic, if you're looking at a cost-benefit greater than 1, what we're saying here is this. When you do the cost-benefit ratio, is it 2 or above? If you do it and it's half of, let's say 1/2 of 1 or lower than 1, then it's not. You're not getting a social return on investment. Some decisions will have to be made right there to figure out where can we make adjustments, or are you actually taking on an endeavor that's never going to pan out and it's never going to give a rate of return, social rate of return on investment. But when they conduct the mathematical equation, you're looking for something that gives you a ratio greater than 1. So This is something used to share with stakeholders. Remember, I told you, you can't just tell people stuff, you have to show them. They, in turn, will look at this to figure out, is this a cause that they want to get involved in? Do they want to participate in? And they will use it for an evaluation. So when they use it for the evaluation, they're looking at it from the standpoint, is this something that I really want to get involved in? And they're going to do their homework, they're going to do their due diligence to try to figure out exactly, is it something that they can do? So when we actually add these, look at this together, we come up with this is referred to as a financial proxy. This concludes the lecture for Chapter 3.